It's time to thrive. Well, hello everybody, Anthony here. Welcome back to another gorgeous episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is the podcast for anybody whose life may have turned out a little less than traditional. We have a fantastic new guest joining the show today. Excited for you all to meet her. But before I introduce you to Jessica, spoiler alert, that's our guest for today. A few things I want to remind you of. First things first, if you like the podcast and you want more of it, then you can just make sure to subscribe to the podcast, turn on notifications, that way you never miss an episode in the future. Second, maybe consider sharing the podcast with a friend, with a family member, with a neighbor, with somebody who really just needs the encouragement that we're going to get from Jessica today. I imagine that there's probably a few people out there who could benefit from hearing her words. So we just want to make sure to spread that around. And then third, only do this if you think the podcast is legit and worthy of this, by the way. But you could rate the podcast 5 stars on your favorite podcast hosting platform. That way we can tell those algorithms out there that the show is legit, and it'll pass it along to more people. So yeah, no, I'm excited to introduce you to Jessica here in just a moment. We just had a fantastic chat, 2 single parents, just getting into Jessica's story and just talking about some relevant things that us SPs have to go through. Yes, we are still in the middle of hot entrepreneur summer, so we are still going to be talking to some business owners, talking about what it looks like for us as single parents to take control of our financial future and maybe do cool things like start businesses or different ventures, things of that nature. So if you're still looking for something amazing to step into, especially in these crazy times that we're in right now, then make sure to listen to this little spiel that I have for you right now, and then we'll get ready to go hang out with Jessica. All right, cool? Sound good? Let's get it. This episode is brought to you by me at Anthony Crosby Talent Acquisition and Development. Single parents, are you looking to take control of your career and financial future? Well, my finance firm is currently recruiting new agents with a business model similar to real estate. Here's how it works. Let me break it down. First, we'll get you connected with our brokerage, and then we'll help you get fully licensed to work in the financial industry. We fully train you to go out and help clients reach their financial goals and dreams. And something pretty awesome is that no past experience in this industry is required. We're just looking for people who are ready to make an amazing change right now, because I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of people out there who are a little anxious when it comes to money and the economy and tariffs and 401ks and retirement. And we just, as a firm, we're growing, we're expanding at a crazy rate because there's so many people out there who legit just need some good people to help them. And maybe one of those good people could be you. Reach out and let me know if you might be interested in learning more. I'd love to sit down and talk with you to see if this might be a good fit for you and your family. Yes, that's Anthony Crosby Talent Acquisition and Development, where change starts now. All right, everybody, we are here with today's special guest. Everybody, give it up for Jessica Doretti. And we're going to pretend like you hear all the people clapping. Woo, yeah. All right. Well, Jessica, I appreciate you joining us on the show today, mostly because I was able to get from you a little bit of your story. I know it's a pretty powerful one. It's one that I truly believe is going to encourage a lot of people who get to hear it. So I'm glad that you're willing to join us on the show and really just being willing to share your story with us first and foremost today. Thank you so much for being willing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we get into your story, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what life looks like for you these days? Like, let's just get to know you for a second.
Yeah, so I am a full-time working mom, single mom at that, as we know.
Of course, we love to see it.
Yeah, right. I also have 2 dogs, spend lots of time with my dogs, and then dance as a hobby. Been doing
Oh,
that actually my whole life. A whole, gosh, how many years is it now? 25 years I've been doing it. Yeah, so
wow.
I've had lots of opportunity for that, which is fantastic. Very passionate about it. Used to be a teacher and then got pregnant and kind of, everything changes. So you have to make decisions on how you're going to move forward and best case scenarios and
Yep.
whatever. So I actually used to teach a lot too. So that was something that I truly loved. But I like to spend lots of time with my family,
Okay.
but mostly just time at home with my dogs and my son.
Well, I guess a big question I have right off the jump is what kind of dance do you do?
So actually, I started out as a dancer who did like ballet and jazz.
Okay.
And then I auditioned for a pre-professional company and I was a contemporary dancer.
Oh,
I did that many, many years. I actually got to tour, like I danced on tour in Europe, which was really cool. And then after I graduated high school, when I went to college, I decided to make a huge switch and try to start doing hip hop. So that has been what I've been doing ever since. Got to meet like, some famous people, not that many, but
oh, oh.
been doing some stuff in the Chicago dance community. So yeah, that's exciting.
That's very exciting. I asked mostly because my kids always shame me for the fact that I can't dance whatsoever. I'm horrible. I'm
Oh, everybody could learn.
horrible.
It's okay.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
that's where I was
there's no
getting at.
wrong way. There's no wrong way. Anybody can do it.
I try to get out there because my kids they know all the latest TikTok dances and moves and songs. So I try to like join in, and they're just like, just wrap it up, dude. Sit down. Just sit down. You're banned from the dance
Yeah.
floor.
No, it's fine. You can still do it. I support
Okay.
you 100%.
See, I'm gonna clip this part of the podcast and show just specifically this part of the podcast to them and be like, see, Jessica says I can do this. So you guys just need to listen to her. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I'm always here to support.
No, that's super, super awesome. So, when it comes to your story, though, because like I said, I'm really excited to jump into that because I know it's going to encourage some folks. So, I guess take us back to the earliest we need to start when it comes to your story and just walk us through your journey from the beginning to where you are now as a thriving single mom.
Yeah, so I guess the story goes back all the way to when I first got pregnant because I feel like that is such a significant part of my story. I was seeing somebody
Mhm.
and accidentally ended up pregnant.
Mhm. Sure.
And it was somebody that I wasn't really seeing super seriously. So, that happened and I told him it's actually crazy because I did not really think anything of it
Okay.
at the time, but I ended up getting into a car accident and my car was totaled.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I went to the hospital. I was taken in an ambulance. And they needed to do x-rays and CT scans of my body because I was fine. I was okay. But before you go in, they're like, "Oh, is there any chance that you could be pregnant, radiation, all of that stuff?" And I'm like, "No way, sis. I'm not." And they were like, "Okay, well, you can either take a pregnancy test or you can sign this waiver." And I was like, "Okay, well, there's no way that I'm pregnant." So I signed the papers, got everything done. I had fractures in my sternum, lots of internal bruising, like from the seatbelt. I had marks on my shoulder, but I had like a lot of pain in my abdomen afterwards.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't think that I was pregnant, and they said, you need to follow up with your primary care doctor afterwards. Went there, got blood work done, and I'm not really sure if regular blood work would show if you're pregnant or not, but nothing was told to me
Wow.
after seeing my doctor. And I was put on like these really heavy pain medications and stuff like that. And I had my mom taking care of me because I could barely walk. I was injured. And she told me that I was like sleeping on the couch, and normally I'm a pretty light sleeper
Yeah.
and I wake up easily, but she said I was just so knocked out, so exhausted. She thought maybe it could have been from the pain medications, but that's not always super common that that happens.
Sure.
And I realized a couple days later, as I was recovering, I was like, you know what? I guess that's really interesting. I haven't gotten like I haven't hit my menstrual cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe I had a lot of trauma to my abdomen from the car accident.
Mm.
And so I was thinking it was probably that. And I decided to actually take a pregnancy test at home. I didn't really notice anything, looked fine,
Okay.
and then decided to do it like 2 days later because I still hadn't gotten I hit my menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was a line. So I immediately call my best friend, and he gives me one of those faces where he's like, I think you need to figure that out. And
Yeah.
I had no car, and I was like limping. I was in a lot of pain, had no more pregnancy tests at home. I walked all the way to the Target
Mhm.
down the street, like limping. And I bought a bunch of pregnancy tests. All of them were positive when I took them and brought them home. So I called the guy that I was seeing,
Yeah.
and he basically laughed at me. He
Whoa.
was like, well, those are all negative, right? And I'm like, no, these are all positive. And he laughed, and he basically brought up the thought of abortion, and he's like, I'm not taking care of that kid. And I was like,
Mm.
whoa, whoa. Like, I mean, obviously both of us were in incredible shock.
Yep.
And I was like, I think we need some time to like sit down and actually talk about this. And he kind of just was not having it. He didn't want to talk about it. He was really adamant about getting an abortion. And I was like, I don't really think that I could go forth with something like that.
Yeah.
And I hung up the phone, and I really like thought about it because I mean, like, I was fresh out of a car accident, just found out that I was pregnant. It was like I was missing the first week of school because I was supposed to be teaching.
Hmm.
So my second graders didn't have their teacher there. I had my principal texting me constantly, asking me to come in every single day, and I was like limping, very unwell. Um, so I thought about it, and it takes like a lot of reflection to be like, okay, is this something that I can do? Do I have to consider abortion? Should I really listen to him?
Mm.
All these things, like so many things go through your mind. But the more and more that I thought about it, I truly felt like I would never be able to forgive myself
Mm.
if I decided to go through with an abortion,
Mm.
especially because I knew how capable I was. I was
Hmm.
in a great headspace. I had a job, financially stable, have a home. I'm healthy. Well, I wasn't, I guess, not healthy at the time, but I was healthy. I took care of myself, and I have like a really supportive, loving family. So I was like, there's just no way that I could go forth with getting an abortion, being in with all the circumstances that I have.
Yep.
I ended up talking to him the next day. Um, he told me I was basically crazy. Like, he said some really hurtful, awful things to me.
Okay.
And that's when I decided, I was like, I guess we're just not going to do it together, and I'll do it on my own. Because the hope is that you're going to raise a child with someone,
Yep.
even if that doesn't mean you're in a relationship, but it's some sort of co-parenting. So both parents, are around and helping out and stuff. But that's when it really came. It was my reality. I was like, wow, I guess I'm just going to do this alone. Told my family about it, and my family, like, I remember calling my brothers and my sister-in-laws to tell them, and I was like crying on the phone. I was like, I don't really know how to tell you this. And my brother was basically like, we're going to figure it out.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, okay. Because I'm so scared. I was so scared. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so as I went through like my pregnancy journey, I didn't talk to the guy who got me pregnant, my son's birth father. I didn't talk to him throughout the pregnancy. And when I think back to like everything that I did alone, it's like so sad to think about how I would go to all of these ultrasounds, all of my doctor's appointments just alone. Like I didn't have anybody next to me to like share those special moments, like hearing the heartbeat for the first time, getting all the measurements, finding out the gender, all those things I just kind of did alone. I had my mom come to one appointment.
Okay.
So thankfully, like I had her there for one of them. And it was like everything progresses. I was like, who's going to be in the delivery room with me? What am I going to do? Because normally you have your significant other like
Yep.
helping you through it. And I decided to have my mom and best friend there.
Okay.
Did not have a good delivery.
Oh.
Almost needed a C-section.
Oh.
Thankfully, did not.
Mhm.
Um, but it was just so traumatic. And it's crazy to think about like how I've just experienced all these things alone without somebody like by my side through the traumas and through all of the challenges.
Yep.
But I think about how we're like thriving so much now. Like, I have this home for him. We have two dogs. I stay active and healthy. He's super smart, super handsome. I don't hear the end of it. Everybody is like, wow, he's going to give you a lot of trouble with the ladies when he's older. I'm like, okay, all right, he's only two, calm down. But I mean, I think about how we're thriving and is it easy? Absolutely not. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'm always running on empty. I'm always tired. I get overstimulated, especially with the dogs. They're just existing and doing their thing. And of course, it puts me over the edge.
Of course.
But I mean, we really do so well now. And it's not an easy thing because I think, especially like on social media, which is like something that I'm trying to build up right now, is like talk
Sure.
about these things on social media and shed light, but also be super realistic about it.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people that post on social media make it seem like it's all like sunshine and rainbows, and it's really hard. Like, there, in all transparency, there are so many times where I put him to sleep at night and I like need to go into my room and cry and like decompress for a little bit because you're like, wow, I just did a lot today. And especially now, like he is throwing the tantrums and all of the good stuff at 2 years old. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's
Wow.
been a huge challenge. We've been through a lot together, but he's like my little miracle baby because he survived that car accident and the
Right.
pain medications and all of the radiation. Like he is
Wow.
I 100% when I went through the car accident and found out that I was pregnant, I had to stop all of the pain medications and just kind of be in pain.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I really was like, I don't know if this is even going to be like a feasible pregnancy because I just like had so much bad stuff in my body. Like it wasn't a good home for him at the
Yeah.
beginning. Um, and my OBGYN was like, don't even worry about it. It'll be fine. It was so early on, like all these things. And he survived everything and he's a little warrior.
That's oh man, I that story is so good because I number one just like want to commend you for being willing to step into all of that because even though you were hearing some not so great things from other certain people, like it's still cool to hear that you were willing to say, you know what, like I can step into this, I can thrive in this, and I can, even though this was a surprise, even though it came through crazy circumstances, the fact that this wasn't like a planned thing isn't going to stop me from seeing this through. And I just want to, like I said, commend you for that because I know how much strength it probably took in those early days to maintain that mentality. And it sounds cool because it sounds like you did have some good support and family and things of that nature, but just yourself and having that mental strength and having that fortitude to endure all that is huge. So that's really awesome. Seriously, that's really awesome.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I mean, it's tough because not everybody, when they accidentally get pregnant, they don't always like have the same circumstances. They don't always have like enough money to financially
Sure.
support a child without getting, child support, or
Yeah.
uh, their family isn't around, or they don't have a place to live or a job, and they're struggling to meet like ends meet. Like there are so many odds that can be against you. And I'm just eternally like grateful that, you know, I have such fantastic circumstances, and I get to raise my son with all these great, amazing things and people around him too.
That's really great. I want to follow up on like one thing in particular though that you kind of mentioned, this mindset and this mentality of like thriving in these single parent circumstances. I think you're like a really great like piece of evidence for that because you just have that mentality, which is great. But I think you said something pretty interesting. You said something to the fact that, a lot of times, especially on social media, and we'll talk more about social media in a little bit, but on social media, you'll hear people describe these circumstances as like, like I can just be super boss mom, Wonder Woman, and everything's going to be great, and we're thriving, and I don't need anybody, and we got this, or super dad, or all these things. And they put off this like big image, like, yeah, it's all, like you said, sunshine and rainbows. But I've also seen the other side where it's all like super doom and gloom and
Yes.
hopeless and people are in their car crying and it's sad music and all that. And so like that resonates with me what you said because that's essentially like why I started this podcast was because I just realized like early on that yes, there's hard aspects about this reality. There's days, like you said, you just want to go in your room and cry and like, I
Yeah.
don't know how I'm doing this. But there's also a lot of great things that you get to live into in this reality, and a lot of things you learn about yourself, and a lot of strength in you that you get to see that maybe you didn't even know was there before your kids were born. There's a lot of cool aspects about it. So it's not an extreme of like it's always sunshine and rainbows, but it's also not the extreme where it's always the worst thing in the world and poor me. So can you speak on that a little bit? How you live in that middle area of still thriving, still being a boss, still doing what you need to do, still getting stuff done, but also dealing with the fact that some days can be harder than others. What does that look like for you?
So I think the big thing for me was preparation right from the beginning.
Okay.
From the beginning, I was like, my whole life is about to be different. My whole life is going to change.
Yeah.
And you basically like have to, for lack of better words, you just have to succumb to it. You have to be like, this is now my new reality.
Mm,
And once you accept that that's your new reality, you could like, you make decisions where you're like, okay, I'm not going out every weekend with my friends anymore. Now my weekends are going to look a little bit different.
mm,
And I mean, although I was really scared, but through the pregnancy, that's really what I was thinking about is how my whole life is going to change.
okay.
And I really try and figure out how I'm going to like navigate through challenges. And I personally am OCD.
Okay.
So I'm a huge planner, huge on routines, things like that. So
Yep.
I always try and plan for best case scenarios, but I also plan for where things can go wrong. That's probably
Ah,
also the teacher in me.
yeah.
Um, so, being like, okay, I'm going to put him down for a nap and then we're going to go do this thing at this time. That's something that's really important to me to make sure that we have a pretty good routine, even though
Yeah.
you can't always have a routine.
Sure.
Um, I just kind of try and see what I could do to help that out. But when it comes to thriving, it's being able to have a good balance between like, sharing lots of great special moments and going out and doing things, but
Okay.
also when mom is really really tired, we might just have to have like a movie night in.
Okay.
And I think it's really challenging cuz I often get mom guilt.
Mhm.
That's what it's called. My mother tells me it's mom guilt. Where I'm like, you know what, I really should be going to take him to the park right now and play because that's what he needs to do, but
Yep.
I'm just so exhausted. So it's going to have to be like one of those nights where I cook dinner and then we have like a movie night together or something like that. So it's really trying to find a good balance and you have to, not that you have to be fully ready, but you have to just know in your mind that your whole life is going to change, and you have to figure out how you're going to balance all of like the challenges. And thriving honestly is not always like good. Like when you're thriving, that doesn't mean that everything is good all the time.
Oh.
Thriving to me is being able to feel as good as I can. But that doesn't mean, for me, luckily my family is really supportive.
Mhm.
So I wanted to spend more time with my son, and I could go be a boss babe and work all the time and work at nights and have, you know, somebody watch my son all the time. But what's the fun in that? You're not even being a parent when you're working all the time, in my opinion. So for me, I have shorter hours, shorter days, so that I could be there with my son as he grows up. So he's not just at daycare all the time.
Yep.
That's something that's really important to me, to be able to spend time as he's growing up before he goes off to elementary school. It's going to be here in a flash.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can during this time to thrive. And even though it is challenging, navigate through all the challenges and stuff.
That's really, man, you just hit me with that was just so good. I'm like soaking this in, like for the show, sure, but I'm just sitting here like, yes and amen. I need that for my life. So thank you
Yeah.
for speaking in, because I mean, you're right. So like, I'll share like a quick story from my week last week that you really just spoke into it. So like last week, I just had like a crazy week with my daughters. So I do co-parenting week on, week off. So I was with them last week, and it just seemed like a lot of like little annoying stuff happened every single day, like stuff with technology and the internet, and had to be here and had a birthday parties and whole bunch of just in summertime, so they're not in school, so they want my attention all the time, but I got to work and do stuff. So it's just one of those weeks. And so I was driving home with them one night, and I was just like complaining about something that happened that day. I think like the internet like went out for a while and I couldn't
Mhm.
get some work done. And so one of my 9-year-old was asking me like about my day, and I was just like, oh, it's just frustrating because the internet broke, and just like everything else in my life, everything's broken, and just complaining and woe is me. And she like looked at me and she's like, well, not everything in your life is broken. Like, I'm not broken. And like I almost like pulled over and just like started like crying right then and there. And I'm like, you're so right. And then she listed others. She's like, well, like your car's not broken, like our house isn't broken. Like she just helped me like get that mentality. So when you say like thriving doesn't always mean everything's perfect, because in my head that's what thriving means oftentimes.
Right.
So like I associate having a good successful day as a family. We thrived as a family when everything's perfect. The internet was perfect, the bills were paid on time, the work was smooth, no drama at work, the kids were good, everything, the house is clean, like everything in a row. Then I'll go to bed being like, yes, I thrived today. I did it. But to your point and to my daughter's point, like sometimes thriving just means at the end of the day, you just lay down and you're just like, hey, like I did what I could and I showed up and I did my best. And sure, the internet went out, or sure, something was inconvenient, but at the end of the day, I still have me and I still have my kids and all that. So, anyways, like I just appreciate you explaining that the way that you did, because it really hits home. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Did you know that at Anthony Crosby Talent Acquisition and Development, not only are we recruiting the next top talent in the financial service industry to come in, get licensed and trained to help a lot of people and make a pretty good living doing it, we also connect individuals and families with licensed financial strategists who love nothing more than sitting down with people and helping them accomplish and succeed in their financial goals and dreams. Thinking about retirement? Do you think it's possible you could leave generational wealth to your children? speaking of your children, do you know if they're properly protected if something unfortunate were to happen to you? Single parents out there, where are your kids gonna go? Who are they gonna be placed with if something dire does come your way? We sit down, we help break it all down, we come up with solutions that are best for you and your family. And the amazing part about this whole thing, our appointments are 100% free. Yep, all you gotta do is get in touch with us and we'll put you in contact with the financial strategist who will make sure that everything is properly planned out for your financial future for free. We also have an amazing referral program for professionals and business owners who might be looking to add an additional revenue stream to their portfolio. Yes, we're talking about real estate agents, mortgage brokers, property managers, CPAs, and tax professionals. This might be an easy way for you to add additional revenue to your business model. Reach out to us one more time. That's Anthony Crosby, Talent Acquisition and Development, where change starts now. All right, so I want to go back now to your story and thinking through your story and thinking through the aspect of your story where you're maybe at those very like early days, you're maybe still processing all the information you were getting, the fact that you did have to like mentally prepare for the fact that your life was about to change, and how you were able to work through that in light of the fact that I'm sure that there's people watching slash listening to this who are maybe at those very early days right now, who maybe just got some similar news like, hey, I'm pregnant or I'm having a kid, and now my life is about to change forever. Maybe it was a surprise or what have you. They're just dealing with the fact that stuff's about to change, and they're really mentally trying to gear up for what the life is about to look like. So pretend you're sitting across from that person, that mom or soon to be mom or dad, having coffee, and they're just like, Jessica, like, I don't even know. That's all I can say. I don't even know. Like, what the heck? What words of encouragement, advice, anything? What would you say to that parent sitting across from you at coffee who's just like, I don't even know what the heck?
So I think what I would really start by saying is that it's going to end up even better than you ever expected it to. And I think what's so tough is, I mean, for me, obviously I had all the resources, I was in a good stance, but not everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people don't always realize how many resources are actually out there
Okay.
to help you. If you're struggling financially with a home, there are actually a lot of resources out there that are willing to help you. I actually had a friend, she was struggling with a lot of things, and I saw the process that with trying to figure out how she was going to be able to afford things, finding a job and things like that. But you can be so nervous and unsure of what the future holds, and you're like, how in the heck am I going to get through this?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, everybody's just so much more capable than they give themselves credit for. And I think I mean, you really have to like push yourself to get to that point, and you have to have like, all the words of affirmation, like telling yourself that you can do it. Because I mean, the more that you like convince yourself, the more that you're going to feel it in your body and everything, and all the endorphins are going to release in your body, and you're going to be like, yeah, I can actually do this. I do feel confident in it. Because I mean, I was so scared within those first few days. I was like, I mean, I could do this, but how am I going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And you're never really going to know what to do until you are in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody tells you that when you have your child, you're not going to know what love truly is until you hold your child for the first time. And all of the trauma and the challenges that you went through with the decisions and cutting people off if you need to, or finding a place to live, financial stability, like it's all going to be worth it when you hold your child for the first time. And there are so many resources out there. Like, I mean, listening to podcasts, really, like listening to podcasts. I love listening to podcasts that like build me up and make me feel better. And it's hard because on a day-to-day basis, you're not always thinking about how you can help yourself, or like you don't always realize like, wait, I guess I really was struggling with like that mindset, or, you know, whatever the podcast is that you're listening to, you're like, wow, I guess that is like what I really needed to hear in the moment, like what you said earlier,
Yep.
because you forget those things, and listening to podcasts, reading books is it helps remind you of all these things. And it's all about hyping yourself up, honestly, because everybody is so capable, even if they're so scared. And it's really tough, but it's so worth it. And it's so valuable. Like, it's what a beautiful thing for your body to like grow a human being all on its own, and then you're going to take care of it. Like, it's such a beautiful like process. And you have to think about how beautiful it is. It has to be on the mindset of like, I can do this. I'm able to do it. I need to figure out the resources that are available to me, and to help me be able to get through this and thrive in my circumstances, whatever they may be.
I love it. I love it. I love how kind of like a theme for our conversation today is like that's just that mindset and that mentality and hyping yourself up in a healthy way. Because I think going back to what we were talking about before, there's like a realistic way to like hype yourself up and to remind yourself that you got this. That's realistic to the fact that again, it's not always going to be sunshine and roses. That's perfect day all the time, but you do got this. And despite what social media in particular might say, and this is leading to my last question, you do have worth and you do have a lot of value and you are great and your home is great for your kids just by you showing up and doing your best. And I want to get your take on that though, because oftentimes social media in particular can have some harsh words, I guess we'll just say, for single
Mhm.
parents in particular. Often they come from people who aren't single parents. They just look and they refer to us as like used goods or damaged or broken homes and all these things. Or even when they come to like talking about dating a single parent, they'll say like, "Well, why would you want to do that? I would never, for women, I hear this. I would never, pick up another man's saved game and all this type of language and just so definitive." So I understand sometimes where those sad emotional videos come from when the single parent's crying in their car because yes, it's hard, but then you also have all these outside voices coming in telling you that you're worthless, you're a piece of crap, your home's broken, and the only way that you can fix yourself is like, I don't know, getting married again or doing all these other things. So that's why I love like doing the show because I try to come in and to be a voice against all that noise. But I want to hear from you. So when it comes to the fact that sometimes even social media in particular doesn't always have the kindest words for single parents, what would you say to that in response to the fact that we're talking a lot about building ourselves up and having a good mindset?
Yeah. So actually, a great example on my social media, why like my TikTok eventually started to gain some sort of following, was because I basically like talked about dating as a single parent, and I had some loser comment on the video, and he was like, no man ever wants to raise another man's child. And I'm like, what in the flim flam? Like, I can't believe that somebody typed that out and they were like, yep, this is a perfect comment, send. Like, who thinks that? So I made a response video to that,
Yeah.
talking about how I really truly feel like somebody will step in as some sort of parental father figure for my son
Mhm.
one day. And I don't think that he's speaking for all men. Like, I talked about all that stuff, and I got millions of views, tens of thousands of comments saying no man is going to ever want you. Yeah, I got
What?
so much. Yes, I had
Oh
to like
my gosh.
I like let it go for a couple days, but then I started getting messages from like guys that I went to high school with, and they were like, so you're like being posted as a meme like on this men's like Instagram, like Twitter, like all this stuff. Like, my face basically went viral for thinking that I was going to end up with a guy one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all bad. I would say like 80% of it was bad, but the other 20% was some people being like, a real man would step up. They like, I have stepchildren, like all these things, but there was so much hate. And I love to follow other single moms on social media, and I see so much hate, mostly from men.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about how those, and I mean, even some women too, like they are mean for like no reason. It makes no sense. And then I mean, I guess this could be a little bit bad. I just like think about how I'm better than them and they could never do what I do.
That's
They could
right.
never go through a day of like
Yep.
getting a child together, the two dogs, taking into daycare, working all day, coming home, cooking dinner, going to work out, taking care of the dogs, making sure he has a bath. Like they could never. They could never do it. And that's just
Right.
what I remind myself. Those people that are like commenting those things are just they they just couldn't be me. They just couldn't be me. That's like all I think about is like they could never do what I do. And I see so much hate on
Yeah.
all these other single moms like platforms and stuff. And I'm like, I just don't get it. Like it makes no sense to me because realistically, I mean, there will be somebody who wants to step up and take on that role. Like and I'm not naive to the fact that like, okay, it gets rid of, a percentage of the male population, but that's good for me because I want all the losers gone from the beginning. That's how I think, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's really just like pushing it to the side. And I mean, again, like thinking positively about yourself. Like, I know that they're wrong. I
Mm.
know that they're wrong. And those are the people who are living in their mom's basement.
Yep.
They've been there for their whole life. They, don't have like a sustainable job. Like those they struggle to cook their own meals. Like those are the people that do that, and you just have to think about how like they must just hate their life, honestly, and they could never do what we do and like find the success that we do. And I maybe that's a little bit harsh, but that's really my mindset when it comes to all of the hate on social media. And since then I've like filtered my comments. As
Mm.
soon as like somebody is like leaving a bad comment, I delete things
Yeah.
because really the platform is supposed to be about like spreading love,
Mhm.
awareness, and being an advocate for somebody who is like struggling. Like, how am I ever going to find a boyfriend? How am
Mhm.
I going to get through this? Like, and you want to be like that person, and you don't want any of the negativity on your page, so you get rid of it.
Mhm.
And the hate that there is, you just ignore it because you're better than them. That's what I
Yo,
think.
seriously, I just laugh when I hear stuff like that because like you're right, those guys, especially for the men, and I just love speaking about the men like this because as a man, it just baffles me that our sex is crazy sometimes. Like us dudes,
Oh
yeah,
God.
we're yeah, I feel so sorry for you ladies because we can not be the smartest sometimes, but it's funny, like those men who will comment stuff like that, like especially on somebody like yours, like you're a very beautiful woman. So like those people who will comment like, "Oh, I would never get with her because she has kids." Like these are the like you said, the guys living in their grandma's basement with double chins and Cheeto
They
stains on their shirt.
are.
So it's like, bro, like, what do you? Who said she even would even want to be with you in the
Right,
first place? And
exactly.
you're already
You don't even
shutting
have a
her down.
chance.
Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like that you like it just makes no sense. But they have like this sense of entitlement to leave comments like that and this sense of, I don't know, boldness, whatever you want to call it. They just feel encouraged to do that for some reason because maybe culturally single parents are still kind of deemed as less than in some parts of the country or whatever. I don't know, but it's just I appreciate you calling that out because I think like I said, we're talking a lot about just that healthy mentality. So for the listener, I guess I'm going to speak now to the listener. The listener, like if you've heard that, if you've experienced that, like don't listen to those people because I like the way that you put it. It's just weeding out all the garbage so that way
Yeah.
what's left, it might be, what do we say? Quality over quantity, right? So like you
Yes.
might got through a lot of crap, but then, what's left might be pretty good. So don't listen to the 80% out there who says that you're not worthy of it. You are for sure, because as Jessica put it brilliantly, like, who else can do what you do? Like, not a lot of people are built for this. Not a lot of
Right.
people are built for this life. So the fact that you are listener or viewer, if you are a single parent listening to this, just means you're something pretty special. So don't forget that. I don't. Anyway, I appreciate you sharing that, because that always, sorry, that always gets me worked up when I talk about that topic.
Oh yeah, I get
Um,
real riled up.
like I could go for hours ranting about that, because it's just crazy. But like I said, ultimately, this is why I do have conversations like this to remind people out there that it's not the truth what you're hearing a lot of times from people who want to put you down. So thank you for being another voice out there to empower people and encourage people, and to kind of cut through some of that white noise. I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to be bold about some of that stuff in that way.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I had a lot of fun. I'm putting you on the spot. We're still recording, so if you want, I could edit this part out. But you think you might want to come on the show again today? Because I had a lot of fun, or sometime, because I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this is fun for me. I'm a big talker. I'm Italian, so it's whatever.
Oh, there you go. Now it makes sense. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does. Full circle, full circle.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. No, yeah, seriously, we'd love to have you on the show again, but for today at least, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, sharing a lot of great encouragement. If the people want to check you out more online, I think you said you have TikTok and you have Instagram, or
Yeah.
anywhere you want, anything you want to plug, where should the people go to find more of you?
I mean, just my socials are Jessica.Doritos. Last name is Doretti, nickname Doritos, so it's just Jessica.Doritos on both TikTok and
Nice.
Instagram. So
Nice. I know that's why I asked you when we were starting, like, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I was like, is it Doritos? Is she like related to the guy who invented those? Because that'd be
oh my gosh, that'd be so flim flam and cool.
that would be pretty cool. I mean, somebody out there has to be, right? Like, statistically speaking.
Right.
So, but just not you,
Yeah,
just not
maybe
you.
I could just claim.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, go follow her. We'll put your links to your socials in the description of this podcast episode, so you guys can go click on those and follow her on all the places. If you want to get a hold of me, you can just reach out to me at our email, which is the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. That's the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. All right, Jessica. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and then to you listening or watching out there, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. Until next time, I'm Anthony, and you all out there, just stay beautiful. Bye.